So we're standard POS. This is my team, and we don't need to do presentation. So first of all, just a quick review. Our application is in charge of taking care of user interaction, of video storage and management for the user. We're going to be actually managing processes that are going to be delegated to a processing server. It's actually going to be taking care of processing each of the videos based on algorithms and such. So just a quick overview at our current coverage that we have. Right now we're looking at the client-side coverage, and this is overall, most of our tests are running for the UI and the client side at close to 100%. And then if you keep going, we can actually see all of our API functionality that as well is close to. There's two later implementations that we had for our test or code that we didn't reach the full 100%, but overall, this is all the functionality of our API. And then go ahead and So a quick overview of our application. This is the main application that the user will be seeing, and this is all the interaction that will happen between our production and the user. So first of all, this is just a home page, which obviously just has some description for the application that the user will be able to see in terms of what the application does, purpose, and just the usual website information that you might need. We're going to go ahead and show our sign-up functionality. So again, this is all making calls to our API. So the client server is only making calls to the API module that we have. So it's really decoupled. So once the user signed in, they're going to be routed again to the main homepage, but then we can go ahead and click on the dashboard. This will be the place where the user will actually be able to upload and view all the videos that they have previously uploaded, and just keep the library that they have. So we can go ahead and upload a video for our sample here. So the user will be able to select a video from their computer, choose a name for it and a description if they so choose. Then this is actually uploading to our, we're actually now maintaining all of the data on the server itself, so we're not using anything storage-wise in terms of like S3 storage. It's all being handled, so what's happening is that the API is getting passed as a payload, and that's actually being transferred to our server. And since it's all local, obviously speeds are different, but realistically it will be transferring to the server and storing it in the server itself. From here we can look at some quick information. Clearly we have a thumbnail that's being generated every time that we upload, and we can see the list. Quick description, length, and so on. It also has the ability to delete, which will give you this prompt and obviously be able to confirm. Also, there is a play functionality, and there is the processing function. So this will show the video once that's done. Go ahead.
Well, right now it's not working. Right?
Oh, yeah, that's right. So right now we ran into an issue in the call that's happening with the authentication, correct? The authentication that's happening with the React server and our backend. So there's some hiccups that we have there and that we need to fix, which will be done in the next iteration. So now for the main functionality of the application, we have the process request here. Oh, it's dying. Okay, so really quickly before my laptop dies, this is going to be the module, the interaction that the user is going to be able to present for the request for all the algorithms. They'll be able to give it a name for the request. So in this case, we could just give it some sample request name. From there, they'll be able to choose all the different algorithms. Right now, this is very simple, but we'll be able to display a description of all the algorithms once it's fully implemented. So once the processing is requested, we'll be able to go ahead and access the page for the current queue of all the processes. Now, since we're not actually handling this functionality ourselves, we are currently just going to be mocking some timeout objects, which will show everything that's in the queue currently processing, and then everything that's processed at that point. Now, once we get the results that have been processed, we'll be able to click that and see this is our sample so far. Above, we see our original video. From there, from the request that we have, we're able to use this dropdown and display the different algorithms. So in this case, this is mimicking a response of a video file itself. And as you notice, this is the same video that we have uploaded. And then there's also, this is actually using the Google API for graphs, as far as I know, on React. So it's actually, this is randomized data that we have generated in order to show this mock. So you can see, like if you hover over the graph itself and the points, you're actually able to see some information. Obviously right now there's no real meaning to it, but that's something depending on the payload of the response that will be displayed to the user. And
yeah, just that we're gonna be adding functionality because Professor Mancini said he would like, since it's a dashboard, he also wanted the ability to be able to, well, basically see the results per video. So have a button that'll display the results, that'll show a list of your results, and be able to view them from here. Which I'm thinking it'll probably be a button that whenever you click on the item, it'll redirect you to the results page with the requested results.
So essentially, after our meeting that we had with our sponsor, Dr. Mantini, yesterday, he gave us a bit more explanation into what the dashboard he had imagined is going to contain. Initially, the details were very concrete. So essentially, the dashboard is supposed to contain the ability to see all the data of all the current processing requests or so. So essentially, this list will maintain, but it will be contained on the side, and it's going to be a lot smaller, and we'll also be able to see the process status along with each of that. So then it'll be a more centralized overview of all of the current snapshot of the user's video library. And with that, that's some refactoring that we will do in the next iteration now that we have a better idea in regards to that.
Also, will be, well, the user will be able to sort by right now upload date and video length, but for that we need to implement pagination. Since if you sort if you sort client side, you'll only be sorting the items that the user currently has. So that would have to be done on the server side. So once that's done, we'll be able to that would work for me. So that's one of the other things we need to get done.
Now, in terms of, again, so we're just going to go ahead and show the one feature that we don't have currently on the actual application right now is it's showing the video, but we just want to be able to show that that's actually something that we have implemented on the back end, which we actually showed on the previous iteration, which is just the call. And in this case, it contains the information as to where it's stored on our server. So it's really just like a normal server location where the video will be stored. We'll make the request, which in this case is a GET request, and it contains, some headers. In this header, there's authentication that's happening with JWT tokens for authentication, and also able to provide access control for all of the user's data. So in that case, the authorization token is generated, which I will go ahead and show here. In this login call that we have for the API, we're able to provide a user and a password that's previously already been entered on the database by calling this new user. So once that happens, we're given a response that the user has been created. We then go ahead and call the login again with this object of the email and password. At that point, we will get a response if the user is actually in the database. We'll give them an email and the actual token. Now this token is the main functionality of our access control and authorization. So because of that, when we're getting the video, which is this specific video that's already stored in the database, we need to provide the JWT token to be able to retrieve that. So again, this API route all of everything under that API call is authenticated. So at this point, it's just showing the functionality of the video actually playing. Again, just to show that although it's not presented on the client side, the the server implementation for the API is definitely there. Am I forgetting? Okay, so there's also a delete route that we will need to implement for the next iteration, which we'll be able to, again, implement, like we showed before, the functionality of actually deleting and confirming the video that's actually going to be deleted, obviously with identifiers to the video and so on. So that's something that's happening in the next iteration. There's also just the call for a thumbnail that we're generating for the sake of the list, which we see right here at the bottom. And oh, the delete. Okay, I apologize. So the delete is actually already implemented, which yeah. So I believe we have forgotten to include it in our replacement culture. But overall, just to mention that that has been completed, but we didn't obviously show it for this test. We also will now show you our backlog that we have actually completed. There's some things that we didn't completely implement for this iteration, which is I guess expected, but we did get some good progress done for the back end and the front end implementation. Overall, our API has been developed. There's some things that within the next iteration will be finished, and the main core moving forward of our development will be focused on client side, on the client server, that essentially the user interface at that point. And this is our current backlog, and as you can see, there's definitely a lot more tasks in our backlog for the front end than there is on the back end. And I believe that's it.
Thank you.